Hi, my name is Jamie Rue, and today I'm going to talk about A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I don't know if her name is pronounced Maas or Maas, whatever. This book is the sequel to A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is on my shelf here. You should read that book. You should read this book. That book pales in comparison to this book. This book is one of the most amazing things that I've ever read in my entire life. I was crying and laughing and crying, and I was angry and I was sad and I was happy. The emotions that I felt, the heartache that I felt, the tension and the everything, and just there was so much of what I loved about that book in this book, but different in so many ways. It was amazing. For those of you that didn't read that book, you might want to leave because it's about to get a little spoilery for you here. Farah is immortal and everything is fine, but also not, because she has a post-traumatic stress disorder, and I can't even tell you, because if you've read any of Sarah J. Maas's novels, you know what a whirlwind she takes you on with each novel. It never goes where you expect it to go. Warning for those of you that care, they say the word cock at least twice, used in like a sexual context, which was hilarious to me because I'd never seen that in YA literature before. I genuinely appreciate the fact that Sarah J. Maas and her editors both thought that we could handle it as teenagers, because we can, because sex being stigmatized is stupid, and I'm glad they recognized that. It was incredible to see that in a real YA novel. You're gonna hate some characters, you're gonna love some characters. If you've read the Throne of Glass series, you know what Sarah J. Maas can do. You know that she does that thing where she makes you love someone you hated or hate someone you loved. It's not any different here. You're gonna be just mind blown when you read this, and I don't want to spoil any more for you. This is genuinely, I think, the best novel that Sarah J. Maas has written ever. And I'm honestly going to reread this book. I did buy it, by the way. This copy's from the library, but I bought it. It just hasn't shown up to my house yet. I got it a couple days early because I work at a library. If you don't want spoilers, leave, because I can't not talk about this anymore. Dude, Tamlin is such a dick. What the heck? I understand that you went through a lot of stuff under the mountain, okay? In the last book, you seemed so nice, and it was like slightly not okay. It was actually super not okay because you kidnapped Farah, but I liked you in that book, and now I hate you. Now you're one of the worst people ever. I hated Rhysand in the last novel, and now I love him, and now he's my heart and my soul, and he makes everything about me just ache because the heartache and the suffering and the everything, and I feel so bad for him, and because all the people think that he's so bad, but he's so not, and that they all have to put up this front. But anyway, Tamlin's a dick. Tamlin can go fuck himself, so can Lucien, because just know that moment where he locked Farah in the castle was horrible. I cheered when Mor came to get her. Oh, and Tamlin working for King Hybern. Don't get me started. Oh, I've never been so mad, and I also just didn't really expect it. I don't know why I didn't see it coming. It seems like one of those things that you might expect to happen, but I just didn't. I don't even know why you would do this, Tamlin. Here's my one flaw with the novel. Why did Tamlin become the worst all of a sudden? I still can't understand. He was so great in the last novel, but maybe there were hints that I missed. I mean, I just don't understand. Rhysand I at least kind of liked in The Court of Thorns and Roses. He was the guy that you love to hate, right? But there was the love part there. There was no part of you that hated yourself for loving Tamlin. He seemed so great. You cannot justify any of what he does in this novel. And like I was saying before, Sarah J. Maas does this one thing so amazingly well, where she makes you love someone with all of your heart, and you ship someone so hard with this one character, and then she rips that kind of like fantasy that she's made away from you very quickly and very harshly. It's so impactful, and it's just so refreshing to not have a love triangle. And love triangles, so it's this girl, and she's met this guy, and she's the best, and then there's this other guy, and he's great too, and she just can't choose, and eventually she chooses the first guy because that's just how it goes. It's so frustrating. It's the worst. I hate it. This is just not that. If you were anything like me, you were all in on Tamlin. You were like, Tamlin, you're the best. You're my bae. He's ripped away from you that image, and you're shown what it can truly be like and feel like to be in the type of relationship with such a controlling guy who wants you to do this and do that and say this and say that and go here and go there. And that's like, and I'm horrified, and I don't ever want that in my life. Rhys is just not that. From the first minute, he's just like, do what you want. I don't care. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid. but if this is what you want, go ahead. And it was just so mind-numbingly different. Rhysand makes my heart hurt so much. I thought his name was pronounced Rhysand, by the way, it's not. Rhysand was Amarantha's whore. That makes me cringe, that title. And it made me cringe a little bit in the last novel, but now it makes me want to shrivel up and die because I know how amazing he is and how much I love him and how strong he is. And it makes me so sad that everyone thinks that he's this terrible person. Rhys definitely does some dickish things. I'm not gonna deny that at all because, like, he does. He kind of pulls some dick moves, including sending her off just to face the Weaver and using her as bait and hiding the fact that they're mates. I'm not gonna not fault him. He is wrong a lot, but he admits it, and man, he's done so much and given up so much and trusts so little, and it makes me so sad. Rhys is one of my favorite characters in YA. He might be my favorite. He tops the list right now. I don't know how I'm gonna feel a year from now, but right now, Rhys is enigmatic and charming and witty and tortured and just everything you want in a love interest in YA. That wedding dress sounded awful. When Rhysand popped in during the wedding, it was the highlight of my day. I was yelling at my book for Feyre to kiss Rhys. I yelled at my book. They were so close to kissing so many times and they never did. Feyre and her flipping out on Rhys after he had, like, confided in her. Oh, she was such a bitch. It was, like, one of the bitchiest moments ever. I couldn't. Her banter with Rhys even before they're mates is just one of my favorite things, and it was one of my favorite things about A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I get to see so much of it in this book. And him making her learn how to read was also fantastic, and it seems like a lifetime ago, honestly. It seems like it was a different book when that happened. So much happened in this book that everything seems so far and so close at the same time, and basically this book is my favorite thing. I'm upset that this book came out now and that I'm reading it as soon as it came out because now I can't read fan fiction about it. That's all I want out of life, is to read fan fiction about this novel. I don't even know if there is fan fiction about this book, but I want to write some if there isn't. I need this in my life. I need more of them. Rhys pouring his heart out to Feyre and admitting everything and being like, I knew you were my mate from this moment and blah blah blah, and explaining that moment why he staggered back in the Court of Thorns and Roses. I was genuinely confused when that happened. I was like, what the heck? I loved Amren and Cassian and Ezreal and more. I loved all of them. They had such a camaraderie about them. If you saw Thor and you saw how Thor and his buddies on Asgard acted, how they were all, like, that's how I imagined them, but with, like, wings. That's just what I was picturing when they were laughing around the house in Valeris, and it was, side characters to me sometimes can be so, I don't care about you or your life or your story. I care so much about these characters, and if any of them died, I would legitimately, like, it would crush me. If Az or Cassian or Amren or Mor or any of them had died anywhere in this novel, I would have sobbed. As it is, when Az got shot, I was sobbing. The whole thing was just so good, and at the end, when she fakes breaking that curse that Tamlin was so sure that she was under, I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And asking the king to break their bond, I thought I was going to throw up. That moment was one of the most horrifying moments I think I've experienced in YA literature. It seemed so, and the sacrifice was so, but then it turns out that actually this was kind of planned, and I don't know how or why they would have planned this, but it was kind of planned, and now she's the High Lady of the Night Court. And it also makes me so happy that Rhys treats Feyre like his equal. Their reactions at the end when he tells them that she went in as a spy and that he knew and that this is a thing that's been planned. I don't remember if it was Amren or if it was Mor, goes, are you telling me that my High Lady is in the enemy's court? That was a highlight of this novel. That was a high point. When Rhys got shot out of the sky, I thought I was gonna have a heart attack because I do not put it past Sarah J. Maas to kill Rhys. So afraid the whole time that I was reading the second half of this novel that she was gonna kill him off and I was going to implode. Now that I know they're mates, if he dies, I'm going to actually spontaneously combust. I was holding my breath hoping that she wouldn't take this amazing man out of my life because I need another book with him in it. Feyre was just as desperate and everything was just Oh, it was the worst. It was, her offering him the soup was so cute after that scene where he confessed his love, and then they're just so cute, and now the next book, she's gonna be miserable and pretending with Tam, and now her sisters are fairies, which they didn't want, and it's just so awful, and I hate the King of Hybern, and I want him to die. That mask that Reese had to put on in the Court of Nightmares was heartbreaking. I don't know that the last book can surpass this. I don't think it can, because Valeris is never going to be the same, and Valeris was such a key part of this book and something that I loved so much about this novel that's not going to be recaptured. The fantasy of a city that's been hidden for over 5,000 years, that's not coming back. It sounded like such a fantasy land, like everything that I've ever wanted out of a place. Valeris was so mystical, and I loved that it was this secret place that he'd kept safe for all of those years, and now it's just gonna be destroyed, and I feel so terrible for Rhysand because it was all for nothing, because his city still got destroyed, and I can't stand those mortal queens, and I hope they die the most brutal deaths that anyone has ever died, because they deserve it. Thinking about it now makes me furious. Just the horror of when I realized what was happening to Valeris, and what happened to Valeris, it was such a amazing city, and I wanted to visit, and it makes me sad that it's not a real place, and it makes me sad that this universe isn't real, because I know obviously like I wouldn't be having such a great time living there. If people like me say that they want to live in this fantasy world, they want to live in the world of the Hunger Games or wherever, and they're like, you're dumb. That would be horrible. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G happens in that book. Why would you ever want to be near that? Truth is, I don't. I would die immediately in this world. I wouldn't be a fairy. I'd be a human, and even fairies don't have it so great right now. That's awful. I want to be whoever the main character is generally what I mean. And I want to be fair. I've never wanted to be the protagonist of a novel so badly. She's one of the greatest heroines that I've ever read about. Feyre being so powerful was amazing. Her powers developed in a way that I just couldn't understand, and like I would be afraid of Feyre. I feel like Sarah J. Maas is so about like female empowerment. She makes her female characters so strong and badass, and it's amazing, but they're not written as male characters. They're still distinctly girls, but they're also just really kick-ass, and it makes me really happy. As much as I would love it if Sarah J. Maas took it easy on her characters, she's not going to. That's the point of a book. Books would be boring if authors were easy on their characters. And that's something that I have trouble with as a writer, because I don't want to be hard on my characters. I want them to be awesome and to do the things that they need to do without any trouble, but that can't happen. I don't know what's gonna happen in the next book. Obviously the war with Hybern is gonna happen, but besides that, I just don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing the High Lady of the Night Court in action. This book broke my heart in so many ways, but it also uplifted my heart in so many ways, and there are so many parts that I'm going to read and reread because they're just my favorite things ever. There are some things that I loved about this book that I've never loved about any other book, and that makes this book so special to me because I get bored sometimes reading YA. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes YA books are boring. Sometimes they're repetitive. Sometimes there's a trope that gets used too much. Sarah J. Maas is so good at not doing that. I love her for it.
So, the outro kind of got deleted. Basically, leave comments down below because I need to fangirl with someone. Bye!